Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Now this week I've got a few things for you. We're going to be modifying the tailstock that goes on to my cutter grinder. I've been having lots of issues with it and I want to try to address those, for the long term. So some modification to that, we're going to be repairing the nut that holds the face mill onto my holder for my K&T mill, because I want to run that for me and for you in the future soon. And of course, like always, I got some extra stuff to share with you, so let's get started. Alright, so I got a little modification that I want to do on the tailstock for my cutter grinder. Here it is. It's just a real simple, really. Just a main casting and then a quill, I guess you'd call it, with a 60-degree center on it. And this just slides in here. It can be rotated, in any position that you want. It's got a cut out there, so if you need clearance. And it's spring-loaded. This is the back of it here. So you can, so it constantly keeps pressure on the item that you have held between centers. So you can rotate this and lock it into position pretty much anywhere you want it. But the issue with this is it's relatively soft, the material that this is made out of. And about every 4 or 5 times that I've used it, I've already reground this thing 3 times since I've had this cutter grinder, and that gets kind of old. Let me bring you in a little closer. I'll show you the damage that's on this center. Okay, so hopefully you can see the wear that's in the face of this center. Now, I went through a lot of trouble to try to keep this thing from galling like it has done. And I even diamond polished this 60-degree center after I've ground it, and I've done that a couple times, but it's getting kind of old. I'm getting tired of doing this every few times I use this. Now this is the center for this tailstock, of course, so it's relatively hard material. And then the file bites and skates, so if that gives you an idea how hard it is. Not quite as hard as a file. So I'm going to be using carbide to actually work this thing. We're going to work it in the milling machine. I'm going to cut off the top here, the point, because that will be replaced by our chunk of carbide here. This is just an old end mill that I cut off with a diamond cutoff wheel in the saw here. I'll show you a clip of that in a minute. But we're going to cut off the end. We're going to take a 1/2-inch end mill, and hopefully we can just plunge out a pocket to put this in. But if that doesn't work well, we'll use a carbide die drill and drill this thing out. And then hopefully braze it in. We'll see. If our fits really well, I may just use a retaining compound. That stuff is pretty amazing. But, we'll see. Let's go get set up in the milling machine and get this thing worked up. This is a 45 thousandths diamond cutoff wheel and a 1/2-inch carbide end mill. Just gonna lop it off. Okay, so I'm pretty much set up here. I got the rotary table on the mill with an indicator on an intercol, and I've centered the table with the quill, and I'm within a thousandth. It's really not going to make a whole lot of difference as long as we get this insert that we are going to try to put in here. in there fairly straight, I mean, we're going to be grinding it anyway. So if it's a thou off, you know, it doesn't make any difference, because when we grind it, you know, it'll make it true. So I'm just going to try, first of all, to plunge this with a 1/2 inch carbide end mill. This is a center cutting end mill. It's not in the best shape ever, but I think it'll be all right. Our slug that we're going to use, the carbide piece of carbide end mill, is about a 1/2 thou under a 1/2 inch, and this measures right on half, so it should give us clearance. So let me get everything in here, and we'll come back and try to get this hole in this thing. Definitely hard. Alright, now I think I'm going to center drill it. Alright, so I'm going to remove the little tip that's formed right in the center there, because I've got a, let's see if you can see that, a solid carbide center drill here, and I want to get a good start with it. Now, I'm not holding this in a chuck because I don't want the run out. Doesn't take much to break them. So now I'm going to drill it out a little bit. Now, I don't need much depth in this, just, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch, if that, just to support it. Alright, so there's a 3/16 solid carbide drill. Same deal. Not going to put it in a chuck. I just don't want the, you know, that run out. And I hope this doesn't break. We ain't got to go far with it. Working. Really, that's about it. It's good enough. Now I'll plunge it a little more with the end mill, and then our hole will be complete. Okay, now that end mill should cut easier. Trying to cut on the very center. I'm gonna have to raise this table up, get this quill shorter. That's not good. Move. Okay, so I slowed the mill down a little bit, tightened everything up, and hope this works. About it. Good enough. I'm gonna push it. Man, that is some hard stuff, but carbide's harder, so it cuts it. I know that's going to fall down in there and then I won't get it back. Let me grab some pliers. I already did it once, that's why I know. And I had to take the rotary table off of the mill to get it out of there. There we go. Alright, so here is our carbide blank. I cut it off. It was way too long. And you can see, hopefully, that I've roughed it up there. Nothing sticks good to, those real polished surfaces. Just used I don't have a real rough diamond lap, so I just used a rough wheel that I have. Just went around it. Anywhere where it's going to contact our center here. You can see it's still fairly polished in there. And I'm just going to use a stone and clean that up. And then we will go out. Well, actually we'll do it in here. And braze that in here. Okay, so I want to clean this thing real good. Here's my setup. Just an old collet block and a junk collet. And I'm sure I'll take some of the temper out of this part. Not too worried about it, to be honest. So we got a good fit. We're all cleaned up. I'm going to clean this thing. So I want a good bond as I can get. So check this thing for run out on the cutter grinder, just sticking this in the tailstock and then putting it in my powered head, and we're really good, so I'm happy about that. Hopefully it will stay that way. So this is the same thing I've been using, Stay Seal, the black flux. So that's pretty good there. Check out these old toothpicks. I love this little container. It says color fast coating, Horse Devere picks. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Foster Manufacturing Company, Wilton, Maine. It says sandwiches, parties, teas. Pretty neat. This was in that old toolbox that I bought some time ago, and some made in Japan toothpicks. Thank you. Call again. I don't understand the call again. Are they in a phone booth? Alright, anyway. Pretty neat. So I'm going to check the run out on this, bring it back, put it in my collet block here, and we'll braze that guy up. Took a ride on the Cone 15-ton bridge crane. I'm going to take my little die grinder and grind a channel in that. That way air can escape. It fits too tight right now. It's a lot less flux this time and a vent hole. Don't take much. A little heat on the end for sure, but not bad. So clean that up. Turned out really good, I think. About as good as you could expect for brazing in a piece of carbide. Probably got around 5 to 6 thousandths run out on the end here. You can kind of see it. Not bad. So we're just going to cut off our excess here, about 1/3 back, and then we will work this section back here. Well, so far so good, man. This thing has really turned out nice so far. And really all that's left is to put my 60-degree center on here and diamond polish it. So in order to do that, what I'm going to use for a gauge is a thread gauge or a fishtail gauge. I'm going to check it by feel, and that should be close enough. I really want an optical comparator. To measure small angles, like when you do cutter grinding, you really need something, with some magnification and a nice, accurate scale on it. So I'm going to have to try to find one of those. So I'm just going to start out by tilting this head 30 degrees. Just lining it up by eye. That'll give me a real good starting point. And then once I grind a little on it, I can use my gauge to tell, rocking it to see if I got any play front or back, and then making small adjustments with the table now, not the head, because it's gross adjustment. I'll use the table for fine. Got my head tilted a couple degrees this way because I've got more wear on this side of the wheel than this side of the wheel, and I'm trying to use it all and maybe even it up a bit. And for this it doesn't matter. So let me get everything set up and we'll grind this thing. A little dicum. Stop and check it. I'm just feeling for rock in this gauge. And I believe I've basically got it right on the money. That was luck. So last light pass, I'm not going to grind this thing to a point. The point doesn't do anything, and it's liable to cause you more problems than anything really. So we're going to leave it blunt on the end. That's it. Looks pretty good, I think. Get it in there. I like that. Now we gotta polish it. Alright, so I got my center in the lathe here, and our little lathe, I've got the ways covered up pretty good because we're going to be using some diamond paste to polish the center up to a good finish. This is just the cheap stuff, the stuff that you can get off of your auction site. I think it was like $11 or $12 for this assortment, all the way from I think 40 down to 0.5 micron. I believe that's in micron. The difference between the good quality diamond is pretty much diamond, in my opinion. But the difference between the really good quality compounds and then your cheaper stuff like this is probably the classification process. Excuse me. How well they separated out the large chunks from the small chunks. So, don't be surprised if you get a scratch here or there from using this stuff. But it works fairly well, good enough for what I do. So I'm going to start off with a 14, which is somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to try a piece of brass here first. I can already see getting the black. Let me get you a little closer. Okay, hopefully you can see how that stuff's turning black. It's from the brass and the carbide breaking down. So I'm just going to lap this thing until it, or polish really, until I get a good finish on it. It's pretty basic really. Alright, so once I've got as good a finish as I can get with this compound, then I'll, move to something finer. And these paper towels go straight in the trash when you're done. Otherwise, they'll, find their way around the shop. So that looks a lot better. So we'll move on to some finer stuff.